Hello everyone and welcome to your second session in this course, Learning Web Development using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. In this video, you will start learning how to use HTML, which is the backbone of all web development, and hopefully you'll get a good understanding of it in preparation for future sessions in this course, teaching CSS and more advanced CSS and HTML together. So the first thing we'll do is open our file explorer. In this case, I'm using Finder. And I'm in my documents folder. However, you could do it in your desktop as well. So create a new folder, just call it website, and this is the folder where we will store all of our files, all of our images that will go into creating the final website. So next, what we will do is open Visual Studio Code. I have it open here already. So you can open it up. You will click on Open Folder, and then navigate to the place where you created your folder and click on Open. So now it has opened a workspace basically for me to interact with the files that I create and write code. So I'll close this welcome page, and of course this is Visual Studio Code, which you were introduced to in the previous session, and it is of course our preferred code editing software, and it is, in my opinion, the best. So you want to click this icon up here. This is a new file. It creates a new file for you. So you click on it, and I want you to type index.html. Okay, so this is the file where we'll write all of our HTML code. It'll be the home page of our web application. So before we get into writing any code, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Out of the three languages that we will learn throughout this course, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, HTML is not considered a programming language. It is considered a markup language. It is the language which is understood by the web. It creates the structure and the layout of all the things that go into your website. So HTML is made up of different things. Basically, it's made up of elements such as H1 tags, paragraph tags, which I will get into in just a while, and it's also made up of attributes which define how those tags should work, right? So you have attributes such as style, such as class, or for buttons you have on click, etc. So I will now get into discussing the basic structure of an HTML, of a standard HTML site. So you first want to type a less than sign, exclamation point, doc type, HTML. So what this basically does is it defines to Visual Studio Code that you are writing in HTML, right? The type of this document is HTML. It's pretty straightforward right there. Next, you want to open up a tag called HTML. So you can see, this is interesting. As soon as I typed in HTML, look, if I type in HTML and close it, so you start opening a tag, you put a less than sign, you type in what you want to be in the tag, and you put a greater than sign. Visual Studio Code will automatically close it for you. But if you want to close something, it should be like this, right? Just a second. I'll close that. If you want to close something, you put your less than sign, and instead of just writing HTML, you put a /, then type HTML. And that will close the tag. Remember, it's very important that you close every single tag that you open while coding in HTML. Alright, so all of your code will go between these two HTML tags. And just a reminder that this course is for absolute beginners. If you have any questions, any feedback, feel free to reach out to us either in the comments below or by sending us an email. So inside these HTML tags, you want to do the same thing, but instead of writing HTML, you will write head. Okay, so the head is basically what shows up at the title page place of your web page. So you can see here it's written start page. So the stuff that I put in head will show up there. So you here you can have things like title, and you write the title of that particular page. So in this case, home. So instead of saying start page here, it will say home when we open the web page, of course. And then generally under the head, you will want to link to a CSS file, but I will not do that in this video since this is focusing solely on HTML. right? So beneath the head tags, you do the same thing, but this time create it for body. So body is the main part of your website. It's what will show over here, right? Everything over here is the body part of your website. Okay, so yeah, so basically here, hold on. The next thing we want to do is open up the file that we created, this index.html file. So I'll quickly save it. It's already saved since we created it in Visual Studio Code. I come back to this folder, the website folder, and double click on index.html. Okay, hold on just a second. I'm using Safari, so I'll just do open with and then Safari. So now you can see it's opened up here, and from this title home, you can see that the title home shows up right there. So of course in the future you can start adding things like a favicon, which give, instead of showing the Safari icon here, it shows a logo that of your choosing. So all of the code will come inside these body tags, right? So just as an example, I'll go more into depth here. You could put an h1 tags and say my first heading, and you could put a paragraph tag and write my first paragraph. Okay, so if we save this just by going to file and save, or you could type Command S or Control S depending on what platform you use, reload the page, and you can see on the website it's written my first heading and my first paragraph. So now let's begin coding inside these body tags. So like I mentioned earlier, in HTML everything is coded using elements. Elements are defined using opening and closing tags. So you have h1 tags, which are headings. You have paragraph tags, image tags, tags for links, buttons, lists, tables, anything you can think of, anything you want to add to the layout of your website. HTML has it, right? And so we'll start now by learning about headings. So you can see here, this is an example of a heading. Of course, I've removed the code here, so if I save the file using Command S and reload, there won't be any heading there. So I will start by opening a new tag by putting less than, typing h1. So doing the same thing for body head, but now I'm writing h1 inside. I will close this tag, and then Visual Studio Code will automatically input the closing tag. It's just the same thing but with a /, right? So here I will type heading 1. Okay, so if I save this and reload, you can see heading 1 is shown up in the browser. This is the largest type of heading you can have in HTML. Okay, so I will do the same thing, but this time instead of writing h1, I'll write h2. Okay, I'll write heading 2. If I save this, you can see heading 2 is smaller than heading 1. So if I copy paste this, 3, 4, 5, 6, the smallest size you can go is h6. So keep this in mind. The largest size is 1, the smallest size is 6. Okay, so if I put 6 here, and this one will be 5, this one will be 4, and this one will be 3. You'll be able to get a picture of how each of the heading sizes look like in HTML. So you can see it here. Heading 1 is the largest, while heading 6 is the smallest. Of course, I forgot to rename these, right? But now you can see here, heading 1 is the largest, followed by heading 2, then heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, and finally heading 6. Okay, so the next thing we will do is talk about paragraphs in HTML. Okay, so paragraphs are fairly straightforward. You saw them earlier when I did the demo of an HTML page structure. So you open your tag, you just write P. That's all you have to write. Just write P, close it. Visual Studio Code will automatically input the closing tag for you. And here you can input any kind of text you want. So what I just did there was input some dummy text, right? Dummy text doesn't mean anything. It's usually used in programming if you want to put a placeholder, if you want to enter placeholder text in place of a paragraph or information you want to add later. So in Visual Studio Code, just put a comma and then type lorem and press tab. So now I have this dummy text. Let me just enter some spaces here so it's more visible. And yeah, so you can see all the text between these paragraph tags. And let me just save that. And if I reload, you can see here we have the paragraph tags. the paragraph that we just entered. So HTML in the browser, it does not show any of these tags that you put. These tags are only for the HTML code that you write in Visual Studio Code. What shows up on the browser is what is in between these two tags, either two paragraph tags, two heading tags, and everything between two body tags will show up in the browser. The next thing that we will look at in this session are attributes for certain elements. And remember that elements are just these tags. Alright, so each element has its own specified tag. Okay, so I'll keep this here, and this time I will create an h1 tag, right? But inside it I will put style. Alright, I'll write the style. So right before this greater than sign and right after the one, I'll enter a space, write style equals to, and I'll put 2 quotation marks. Alright, between these 2 quotation marks you can enter style. So this is where CSS comes in. You'll learn more about this in the next video, but just for this video I can say I can enter color colon, and then let me write blue. Alright, and then I'll enter semicolon, and then for the actual text that I want, you remember the text always comes in between the 2 tags, right? So right after the greater than sign, right before the less than sign, I'll enter blue heading. Okay, save that, come here, reload, and you can see now I've added the attribute of style, and it has basically put a color. It has given the heading a color. Okay, so attributes in HTML, they're not generally used for style. You generally want to add things like ID is equals to, or class is equals to when you're using CSS frameworks, which we might get into in the future. So basically, if you're creating your own CSS, you'd want to use ID. ID is also used heavily with JavaScript. So if I give the h1 an ID of, let's say, heading 1, right, and I save that, in the style sheet I can type hashtag heading 1 and then type any styles for that, which will style this heading. Of course, I've removed the blue color from the heading, so if I reload, it's black again. Okay, you'll be taught more about this in the following video, right? So different tags have different attributes. The next thing we will learn about are lists, right? And after that we'll go into links, and you'll learn about more types of attributes when we go to links. So lists, there are 2 types of lists in HTML. We have unordered lists, which has the tag ul, and we have ordered lists. Okay, so when you want to create a list, you type the type of list that you want, either ul or ol, and in between, for each item in the list, each list item, you open a tag, type li, close a tag, Visual Studio will automatically close it for you, and then you type what you want in that specific place. Okay, so the first item in my list, let me say apples. Okay, and then the second item in my list, I will make it oranges. Okay, and the third item in my list, let's say mangoes. So if I save this, now we will see how an unordered list looks like in HTML. So if I reload, you can see here, this is an unordered list. It uses bullet points, right? But if I do it as an ordered list, I say li. So maybe the first item in the list is New York City. The second item in the list could be London, and the third item in the list could be Tokyo. If I save this, you can see here, ordered lists use numbered bullet points, okay, whereas unordered lists use regular bullet points such as circles or dots. Okay, and so we've learned about headings. You have different types of headings ranging from h1, which is the largest, all the way through to h6, which is the smallest type of heading. Then you go into paragraphs. So paragraphs, and okay, there's one thing about paragraphs which you have to understand. If I enlarge on this the web page here, you can see that the paragraph goes on until the end of the page, basically, despite the fact that I have breaks here. So if you want to input breaks in your paragraphs, or a break anywhere, you can see here we have we have this space right here. Okay, we have this space over here, but If we want to increase that space, you would enter. So if you want to add breaks, if you want to increase the space between two different elements in HTML, you enter something called BR. So notice BR does not have any closing tag, and it's always like this. You're not supposed to type a forward slash, or okay, you're not supposed to have a tag with a forward slash. It's just BR on its own. So if I save that, you can see the space has increased. Okay, if I can do that again, and the space will increase even further. Okay, there's also another type of thing like this. It's called HR. So instead of creating a break with space, it creates a break using a line. Okay, so I can type HR there, save the file, and there's a line that shows up in between these two elements. Right. So back to what I was saying about the paragraph. If you don't want a never-ending line like this, and you want it to show up the way you've done it in the code, you basically add a line break BR after each sentence. Okay, so now if I save it, you can see the text shows up on the web page the same way that I wrote it in my code. Okay, so the next thing that we will look at are links. Okay, so links are defined using the A tag. Okay, the link element is defined using A. Okay, so this is a link, but it doesn't work. I can write here link. There's nothing there, of course. So the thing that makes it a link is an attribute. Okay, these attributes are very important when it comes to using links. So you want to type href or href is equals to, remember, whenever you're creating an attribute, you write the name of the attribute is equals to, and then a double quotation mark, and then this link will take us to, let's say, https://google.com, for example. So if I save that, reload, you can see now that the link has got a different color. Okay, it's generally supposed to be a blue color, but I don't know why it's like that. It should be a blue color, and now it has the underline. It looks like a link basically, right? So if I click on it, you can see it takes me to google.com. Okay, I can go back. So that's about links. The next thing that we will do are images. Okay, images can be very important if you want to, let's say if you're creating a website, you want to give information to people, you'd want to have links. You'd want to have images on the website so people are visually attracted to that website. So images are created using this tag img, and images are kind of like BR and HR tags. They don't require any closing tag. So for images, it's very important that you give it the attribute src is equals to double quotation mark. So this is where you'll enter the image that you want to show. So if I save this, you can see there's no image that shows up here because I have not inputted any image into the source of this image. So if I can get an image, if I just go to Google and search up image, and I can go to images. Let me just get an image here, and I click save as, and save image as, and I want to save it inside the folder that I created for this website. Okay, so I'll save it inside the website folder. I'll give it a simpler name. I'll just say tree.jpg. Hold on a second. Okay, tree. Yeah, so I'll save that. And if I come here, you can see that the image has shown up inside this editor. Okay, this file explorer for Visual Studio Code, the image showed up there. It's called tree.jpg. So that's what you want to enter as a source. So I'll write here tree.jpg. I'll save it, reload, and you can see that the image has now shown up on the website. So you can, of course, you can manipulate an image. You can change you can change the width and height, and of course, if you use CSS, you can make it round, you can make it curved, edged, and there are many different things you could do with images. But for HTML purposes, you have the attributes width and the attribute height. Okay, so if I give it a width of 100 pixels and a height of 100 pixels, you can see it becomes very small. Okay, so maybe something like 300 would be better. Yeah, so that's a better image. Okay, and of course, let's put these links below the image, right? So put the links there, and okay, I can add a line break. Of course, remember These BR tags are very useful. If I want the links below the image, you can see line breaks are extremely useful. Okay, so this is the standard for HTML, and you also have buttons. Of course, buttons can be used in place of links. So if I type button here and I close it with button, you can see the link now becomes a button. It's fairly small to see, but you could style it in CSS, make it bigger, which you'll learn in the following session, I believe. Okay, so that is all from me, and I hope that in the following sessions you can learn more about how HTML works with CSS, how to create an actual website, and more advanced CSS in the next session. In the following sessions, of course, learn more advanced CSS. If you have any feedback, feel free to reach out to us. We are available for any questions, any comments that you have on our methods of teaching. If you want any clarification on anything, we're always free. And I hope that you enjoy. And remember that this is a course for complete beginners, and I hope that you enjoy learning HTML with us and that you will have fun in the following sessions of this course.